Back in January, we did some outdoor landscape type projects and structures on Central Campus. We didn't do a Mosey in February. Now it's March, still winter in Door County, as you can see. Not that I'm complaining. We needed a good old-fashioned winter up here. But we're going to continue with some outdoor projects, wooden ones, this month, starting with these wooden planter boxes that were done in 2017 and 18 by Gene Kenny, who's now on our board of directors, very active volunteer here and a master woodworker, teaches some woodworking classes at the clearing now. And I hired him to build some planter boxes to replace some ones that were not as sturdy, not quite as big, and they were kind of starting to come apart. So we copied, he did the same thing in Ellison Bay. We replaced all of the whiskey barrel planters that had been here forever. I had suggested to the people that were doing the annual flower plantings in Ellison Bay back probably about, 15 years ago, that maybe we should replace the whiskey barrels with something that's more unique and speaks more to Ellison Bay. And I suggested something that suggests an old apple crate. So that's how we came up with this look, to kind of look like an old apple crate. And they're all over Ellison Bay and now all over at the clearing. As soon as we made the first ones in Ellison Bay, some old timer who I think had been in the apple business said, "That's not an apple crate. They're supposed to have slats between the planks." And I know that, but that wouldn't hold soil very well, so we had to do it this way. But they're very well made. Gene is, again, just a great woodworker. And we've had these now for the first one's going on 10 years now. And you can see how nice they look even in the winter. They're full of annual flowers, planted in May and through frost in late fall. And then Beth Coleman, Renee White, and a few volunteers fill them with greens for the winter. So we get year-round use out of them. And they're sprinkled all around the Jensen Center. This is at the entrance to the Jensen Center off Garrett Bay Road. Here's another one of the planter boxes at the main entrance to the Jensen Center, just across the driveway from the other one, of course longer and shorter. But what I wanted to show you here was this wood project right here that the architect is behind the camera. This is Eric Winkliff's creation, both the kind of arbor type structure behind, and then the sign itself. Ironwork by James Visti, who has done a lot of work for the clearing over the years. And the stonework was done, this is 2018 by the way, this structure. I think the arbor was up earlier, this came a little later. And the stonework was done with Eric's input and maybe a little bit of mine. I think my input was make it look nice. But Will Linscott, who was our landscape architecture intern from the University of Minnesota LA program, did the stonework that year. So combination of stonework, Gene Kenny's nice planter box, and Eric's beautiful wooden sign. This is the main sign on what we call our campus entrance at the clearing, and this is another one of Eric's creations. This was in 2023 that this signage was done. Another one of Gene Kenny's planter boxes here. But this was a major project. I know Eric put a lot of thought and time into this, and then we had some volunteers help with the installation. Again, the metal work by James Visti, but a beautiful sign right along Garrett Bay Road that tells you where to go, depending on where you're going. We had to rebuild some of the stone wall because of this project. And speaking of rebuilding stonework, the south column, and these go back to Jensen's time, these two stone columns. This must be 20 or more years ago. Mike Lundquist, who was our plumber for years, and was on the fire department for many years too. He contacted me and said that they got a new fire truck, and it was longer, and he wasn't sure they could get it in here if they needed to. So we did a test run, and it was really tight. So we had Dave Boltman, who's a great stone worker, was on our board for a long time and taught some stone wall building classes. He took that south column apart, and then, no, I have to back up. Steve Shumway, our mason, I'm going to back up one more time. Dave Boltman took the wall behind it apart. Steve was able to move that column like that back about 3 feet so the fire truck could now get in the future. And then Dave rebuilt the wall behind the column. So that goes back a ways, but we felt that we had to keep, because that stone wall behind, the column and the stone wall go back to Jensen's time. And I think Dave did a nice job rebuilding that so it looked like it looked in the old days. So the campus entrance. In 2018, again with Eric's design and a lot of help from Mike Stapleton, one of our woodworking instructors, and of course Brian Buchholz, our maintenance person, we installed, I think there are 7 of these along our road, campus road, in one place or another. These road signs that were, again, a huge improvement, both in terms of looks and in terms of making it clear which direction you should be going. So again, 2018, and I think our landscape intern that year may have helped with this too a little bit, Will, who did the stonework over at the Jensen Center sign. But another nice woodworking project with, again, some metal work by James Visti. And the last of our wood projects for this Mosey are I call these hides, H-I-D-E-S. We did these, and our Thursday volunteer crew did these in 2021 and 22. It was kind of initiated by the kitchen renovation in 2020, which required some fairly unattractive equipment. This is the makeup air unit behind here. There's a huge vent over on the other side, on the west side of the lodge, and further down, the air conditioning units and compressors for the freezer and fridge. Not attractive, and although it's still noticeable that something is here, it's so much better to look at wood than at what's behind it. So our volunteers did a really nice job of creating and building these nice hides to hide some ugly stuff. We also did one around 3 sides around the dumpster, which isn't great to look at, and over at the Jensen Center too at that dumpster, so we can at least partially hide those unattractive features. So that's the last of our projects. Maybe we'll pick up a few more stone projects next month.